Another Miami home game, another important visit weekend for the Canes. In this video, we want to know if Miami is going to flip another Ohio State running back commitment, Miami going JUCO route for immediately help on the O-line, and what is Mario Cristobal going to do on the defensive line after missing on a few of his top targets. Miami fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. You guys are passionate fans. You need to be a part of what we're doing here at On3 Recruits. Hit subscribe for me. Thank you. Okay, let's bring on Stephen Wagner of CaneSport. Stephen, four-star running back Jordan Lyle on campus again. The Ohio State commitment has now attended 3 home games for the Miami Hurricanes. Are they about to flip him?
I think it's tough to say that Miami is not a major player in his recruitment right now, and I think Miami has definitely generated some serious momentum. He's now attended 3 Miami home games so far this fall, and his 3 teammates over at St. Thomas Aquinas, Chance Robinson, Ryan Mack, and O.J. Frederique, all of whom are Miami commits, are playing a really big role in this. They're the ones who are consistently telling him that he needs to get down to campus. They're trying to sell him on Mario Cristobal's vision for the program, and they've been making some pretty aggressive recruiting pitches. Chance Robinson actually tweeted at Jordan Lyle after Miami's win over Virginia, telling him to come home, and we had a chance to ask him just how interested he is in Miami, and there's definitely a fair amount of interest between the two sides there. We think that Miami is going to keep pushing here. Now, right now, it's not expected that he will get back to campus the remainder of the fall season because St. Thomas is getting ready for their high school playoffs, and he said that he's not planning on taking any visits the rest of the year while he focuses on the playoffs. But I mean, those final few days before signing day in December, it wouldn't stun me if Miami's able to get him back on campus because I do think that there has been some very, very real momentum there on Miami's side of things. And while obviously he's still committed to Ohio State, I think it's very, very difficult to say that Miami's out of the picture. They're actually favored to land him according to the On3 recruiting prediction machine right now. And I honestly think that there is a fair chance that he could potentially flip away from Ohio State. But Miami is certainly going to need to keep pushing.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one. But I do like the fact that he attended 3 home games. And I do think that Miami probably gets him in late, and we'll see what happens there. All right. JUCO offensive tackle Markel Bell was on campus. We know this is a position of need, and he goes 6'8.5", 340 pounds. Not new to this recruitment. Miami's been involved, but who are the main players and where does Miami stand?
Yeah, so Alabama is a team that he said he has a lot of interest in. He says he's also got some pretty serious interest in Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Auburn, really some SEC foes is what he's really going up against there. He does plan on getting back to Miami for an official visit later in December. So we definitely think that he will be back on campus at some point. But Miami is right up there at the top for Markel Bell. Nice. Number 4 overall junior college recruit, number 1 offensive tackle in the country. And this is really a guy who I think is going to be pretty important in Miami's 2024 class because right now Miami does have some pretty solid experience on their offensive line. But after this group of starters this year, they really are pretty young behind this group. And so I do think that turning to junior college guys for a prospect with some experience who can come in as kind of a veteran presence to that offensive line. I think this is something that makes a lot of sense. And I had a chance to stand next to Markel, and I can tell you he is every bit as big as his listed height. He's absolutely 6'8.5", 340 pounds. You immediately get that impression standing next to him. He is a big, massive presence, and Miami is definitely in a good position for him. He said that, one of the things that Miami was really trying to sell him on over the weekend was the culture at Miami and how different the culture is at Miami from what it is at other places and how it's changing from what it used to be under Manny Diaz into what it is now under Mario Cristobal. And I do think that there's been a lot of positive momentum there. I think that Markel Bell is definitely going to be a guy to keep an eye on for Miami down the stretch.
Okay. Let's stay on some flip targets here. Safety Xavier Lucas. He dropped by Miami on Friday. He attends American Heritage, but he committed to Wisconsin back in August. So how much of a priority is he? And do you think this is a flip target down the stretch for the Canes?
Xavier Lucas has been a really, really intriguing guy because it wasn't a name that we were hearing a crazy amount about early in the summer whenever different Miami targets were taking their official visits. But it's been a name that we've been hearing a little bit. He had a chance to get down to a Miami game for the Georgia Tech game, which obviously was a really, really heartbreaking and devastating loss for a lot of Miami fans. But he said that he felt like he kind of has to do his due diligence whenever it comes to his recruitment. And obviously that's going to include being willing to take a quick visit to a school that's, really right there down the street, within an hour's drive of where he's at over at American Heritage. And he added that, while obviously the Georgia Tech loss was bad, it's not really the end of the world for him and his recruitment. Kind of hard to tell just exactly where things stand at the moment, but Xavier Lucas is kind of an intriguing guy that we're keeping an eye on.
All right. Now, defensive line, when it comes to 2024 recruiting, it was one of the Canes' biggest needs heading into the cycle, and there were high hopes on how the class would finish, but that optimism has faded. Miami missed on a bunch of elite linemen. Some names include David Stone, Justin Scott, LJ McCray, Aiden Breland. You guys know where this is going, and we've wondered where defensive line recruiting would go, and now we kind of have a better idea. About a month ago, Miami offered Columbus, Ohio 3-star Francis Brewu. Good-looking prospect, 6'3", 265, but he's committed to Pitt. Stephen, you spoke to him recently. Can Miami get him back on campus and push for a flip here?
Yeah, so it's going to really come down to relationship building and just what kind of relationships Miami is able to build with Brewu over, really a very short period of time. I mean, there's less than 2 months left until the early signing period.
But this is where the flips go down, Stephen.
It absolutely is. I also want to add that just because Miami missed on a lot of these, really elite 5-star and 4-star blue chip targets, LJ McCray, Aiden Breland, we are not writing Miami off for these guys by any means. Last year, Miami landed 9 commitments in the final month before signing day, including a lot of blue chip prospects. I mean, they flipped Mark Fletcher last season, and we think that Miami is going to make another very aggressive push in December this year as well. So we're not totally saying that they are completely out of the race or done for a prospect like an LJ McCray or an Aiden Breland or someone kind of along those lines. Because as Mario Cristobal kind of proved last year, just because a prospect is committed elsewhere does not mean that Miami is going to be intimidated by that. You look at guys like Collins Achimpong. You look at Samson Okinola, who wasn't committed somewhere last season, but was a guy that Miami made a very, very aggressive last-minute push for and ended up being able to get that second 5-star recruit in last year's cycle. So just because some of these guys are off the border, they're committed elsewhere, just because LJ McCray's committed somewhere else, Aiden Breland, Justin Scott, David Stone, whomever, blue chip, 5-star, 4-star defensive linemen more generally, that is not going to scare Miami away, and Miami's going to keep fighting tooth and nail until the very end because, as you said, defensive line was a massive priority for the Canes in this class, and that's something that they are still going to need a lot of help with, especially as we get down into the last 2 months before signing day.
Yeah, and that's what these last months are about. The home stretch will make or break this Miami recruiting class. Stephen Wagner, thanks for coming on the Inside Scoop and kind of setting up some of these major flips that could happen down the road. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.